Now, on CrimeWatch, we seldom ask for your help with missing people because it may be that no crime has been committed. But on this occasion, my colleagues in Surrey are convinced that the boy they're looking for did not leave home of his own accord. 15-year-old Lee Boxell disappeared on Saturday the 10th of September. He was last seen at 1 p.m. that afternoon in Sutton High Street. Lee is an avid football fan and supported Sutton United, but they were playing away in Lancashire, so he might have gone to another match. He could have gone to Selhurst Park to watch Charlton against Millwall, or to Plough Lane to see Wimbledon play West Ham. He might even have watched local non-league team Carshalton Athletic playing at their ground in Colston Avenue. Lee is slim, about 5'6" tall and quietly spoken. He was wearing a Flintstones t-shirt like this one and faded black jeans. It's now almost 3 months since he went missing. If you've seen him or know anything about his disappearance, please get in touch. There is a reward for information as to his whereabouts.
You get back to the calls, Martin. Thanks very much, Kirsty.
Now, on the 10th of September 1988, 15-year-old Lee Boxell vanished. A massive campaign was launched to find Lee, and his parents held on to the hope that he would one day walk back in the door of their home in Cheam in Surrey. But 25 years on, and detectives have a new theory about where Lee went that day and what may have happened to him.
And he'd even got a little tape recorder where he'd act out part of being a news reporter.
Hello, good evening and goodbye.
He was a very kind boy, very shy, done his paper round, which all boys do. We love him and we still love him if he's out there.
This is Mr. Lee Boxell telling you the news for today.
This is Sutton, just on Greater London's southern border with Surrey. It's close to where teenager Lee Boxell lived with his parents and younger sister. He was a popular 15-year-old schoolboy obsessed with football. But in September 1988, he failed to return home after spending a Saturday morning with a friend. He was last spotted here on Sutton High Street.
Lee and his friends spent a couple of hours that morning, September the 10th, hanging around the town centre.
See you later, mate. See you.
They'd gone their separate ways at 1 p.m, and Lee's parents had expected him home around 5.
We thought he went to the football, 5 o'clock went, 6 o'clock and so on. I was worried. My husband just thought, well, maybe he missed the bus train, but I was really worried. We was ringing the police and hospitals and everything, trying to find out what's happened to him.
Police in London say they're now extremely concerned for the safety of the 15-year-old schoolboy Lee Boxell.
The theory that Lee may have gone to watch a football match on his own was plausible, and police launched a campaign involving star players, calling on football fans to come forward if they'd spotted Lee. But throughout, there was confusion about which game he would have gone to, and despite the publicity, there wasn't a single positive sighting of Lee in or around any of the football grounds. But Lee had been seen at 2:20 that afternoon on Sutton High Street, which meant it was unlikely he would have made it to any of the football grounds for the 3 o'clock kick-off. Despite no further sightings, his parents tried to remain positive.
We always hoped that he would be alive and well and would come home.
It's the nightmare, and especially now it's cold. I think if he's out there, is he cold? You know, is he sleeping rough? Is he, you know, I think all different scenarios of what could happen, what he would be like now.
But detectives also had to look at the possibility that Lee had been murdered. And following new information, officers began to formulate a theory. centred around this church in Cheam.
Back in 1988, an annex of St Dunstan's Church was used by local youngsters as an informal youth club. Nicknamed The Shed, it was well known locally as a place to hang out. And over a decade, hundreds of kids would have passed through its doors, including Lee.
The original club was burnt down a few years ago and replaced by this building. Now, officers urgently need to speak to anyone who spent time here back in 1988, so they can confirm their belief that Lee was here the day he disappeared.
Lee doesn't appear on any databases. He's never opened or accessed a bank account. He's never come to notice of police in his own name or any other name, and I believe he came to some harm that day or shortly afterwards.
Now, your investigation is looking at a paedophile connection, isn't it?
Yes, that's a significant line of inquiry. We know young people used to gather at the Shed, and we know there were paedophiles in that area committing offences at the time Lee went missing. And had he gone there that Saturday afternoon, he may have discovered something that led to his disappearance.
Exactly as it was the day he went missing. His school uniform is still hanging on the wardrobe. But now his parents are beginning to face up to the possibility that Lee didn't simply vanish that day, but was killed.
We want somebody to come forward and put our minds at rest to what happened to him.
We can't begin to grieve until we know for sure that Lee is not alive. We hope he's still alive, but that hope is fading after 25 years.
Well, I'm joined now by DCI Nick Scola. That youth club, it would be fair to say, would it, Nick, that some of this young boy's friends might not even know that it was somewhere that he went pretty regularly?
Yes, that's right. We have to remember this was a time before social networking sites, before everybody had mobile phones. And indeed, his friends didn't appear to know that he went there. The Shed was a place where young people would go and drink and smoke if they wanted to, with no real supervision. And he would have known an entirely different group of people there. And it's that group of people I'd like to get in contact with us now. Additionally, we were given some old photographs taken in the Shed at that time. And I'd be really interested in seeing any other photos that people might have tucked away in their attics.
Now, when Matthew was talking to you there, you mentioned paedophiles. You think that that's relevant, do you?
We do, yes. We know there were paedophiles living in the area at that time and committing offences. And if Lee's disappearance is linked to something that he saw on that Saturday afternoon in 1988 in the Shed or in the surroundings of the Shed, their evidence will be vital. They may themselves have been victims, so I'd urge them to come forward.
I mean, you mentioned there 1988, you know, 25 years ago. That's a long time. Have there been significant developments recently that have really interested you?
Well, we'll always continue to explore every possibility in Lee's disappearance. But last year in September, we searched the churchyard at St Dunstan's Church in Cheam, including using ground-penetrating radar. And that continues to be an important part of our investigation. But we have many other lines of inquiry as well, and we are committed to exploring all information that comes into us.
We heard Lee's mum there just talking in the film about the shy, kind boy. Those are still her memories. Really, tonight is the night for people to come forward. Now the time is right.
That's right. Over the years, people have phoned the National Missing Persons Helpline and CrimeStoppers with anonymous information. With the passage of time, I'm really hopeful they can come forward again and give us more information. They themselves might now have children who were the same age as Lee was when he disappeared. And I'd really encourage them to ring CrimeStoppers so we can give Christine and Peter the answers they deserve. And if there's no good news for them, and if Lee's dead, if anyone knows where his body is, I'd ask them to tell us so we can return Lee to them.
People need to do the right thing on this. Thank you very much, Nick. You saw there in that film just how long Lee's family have been agonising over what happened to their boy. Please, if you can help, I would urge you to come forward tonight. 0500 600 600 for the studio. OK, now